Today on Declassified, we will meet some of God's communists. This story by Trevor Loudon, an author, filmmaker and public speaker from New Zealand, who for more than 30 years has researched radical left, Marxist and terrorist movements and their covert influence on mainstream politics. The Communist Party USA has a religion commission where socialist pastors, religious academics and lay people network to spread Marxist ideas through their churches, synagogues, temples and mosques. The United States is a deeply religious country. Very early on, the CPUSA realized that if the United States was ever to be brought to socialism, religion would have to be harnessed to the task. As the United States is primarily a Christian country, the communists began to infiltrate churches, seminaries, and theological colleges even before the Bolshevik Revolution of 1917. In congressional testimony in July 1953, former CPUSA Chairman Ben Gitlow described how Harry Ward, later a secret party member, established the first communist front in America. The Methodist Federation for Social Action was first organized by a group of socialist Marxist clergymen of the Methodist Church headed by Dr. Harry F. Ward. Its objective was to transform the Methodist Church and Christianity into an instrument for the achievement of socialism. It was established in 1907, 12 years before the organization of the Communist Party in the United States in 1919. A few days later, another high-ranking communist defector exposed Dr. Ward as a card-carrying communist and a powerful agent of influence for the communist cause. The Methodist Federation for Social Action, headed by the Reverend Harry F. Ward, whom we have already identified as a party member, was invaluable to the Communist Party in its United Front Organization's campaign. It was invaluable because through it the party was able to get contacts with thousands of ministers all over the country. That defector, Manning Johnson, also went on to reveal how the CPUSA's Soviet masters had shifted emphasis from destroying religion to co-opting it. Once the tactic of infiltrating religious organizations was set by the Kremlin, the actual mechanics of implementing the new line was a question of following the general experiences of the living church movement in Russia, where the communists discovered that the destruction of religion could proceed much faster through infiltration of the church by communist agents operating within the church itself. The communist leadership in the United States realized that the infiltration tactic in this country would have to adapt itself to American conditions and the religious makeup peculiar to this country. In the earliest stages, it was determined that with only small forces available, it would be necessary to concentrate communist agents in the seminaries and divinity schools. The practical conclusion drawn by the Red leaders was that these institutions would make it possible for a small communist minority to influence the ideology of future clergymen in the paths most conducive to communist purposes. According to Johnson, the CPUSA set about infiltrating American Christianity at every level. In the early 1930s, the communists instructed thousands of their members to rejoin their ancestral religious groups and to operate in cells designed to take control of churches for communist purposes. This method was not only propounded, but it was executed with great success among large elements of American church life. Communists, operating a double-pronged infiltration both through elements of communist-controlled clergy and communist-controlled laymen, managed to pervert and weaken entire strata of religious life in the United States. All over the United States, CPUSA members went back to their childhood churches. Over time, many gained positions of influence. Much of this activity ramped up during the Vietnam era. Here are some examples. In Utah, Wayne Holley was a proud member of the Mormon Church and founder of the Joe Hill Club of the CPUSA. Holley worked for all economic and social issues, including universal health care, fair housing, jobs with justice, women's issues, and all movements for peace. He fought against nuclear testing in the Nevada test site, the Vietnam War, and the MX missile program, according to the CPUSA publication People's World. In Chicago, Bill Hogan, a CPUSA member and Catholic priest, joined in the national campaigns to end the U.S. war in Vietnam, was a leader in Chicago clergy and laity concerned an anti-war group, and was one of the plaintiffs in a pair of federal lawsuits in 1974 and 75 that sought to stop alleged Chicago Police Department harassment of political activists, according to his obituary. In New York, CPUSA member Reverend Michael Morford was executive director of the National Council of American-Soviet Friendship and a leader of the new mobilization committee to end the war in Vietnam. During the Vietnam War era, the American Communist movement split into Maoist, Trotskyist, and Democratic Socialist factions. The traditional CPUSA was dramatically reduced in numbers. However, far-left infiltration of seminaries and theological schools increased as thousands of young draft dodgers opted to promote socialism in divinity schools rather than fight the communists in Vietnam. Today, most of the leftist divinity professors and religious leaders come out of the 1960 Maoist and Democratic Socialist movements rather than the CPUSA per se. However, the CPUSA did continue to make considerable progress in black-majority churches. Since the 1960s, when the CPUSA began to more deeply infiltrate the Democratic Party, a larger emphasis was put on recruiting black pastors. These pastors could be used to promote socialist policies within the Democratic Party and to keep their congregations loyally voting on the left. In April 2005, the CPUSA reorganized its religious commission with a conference in Iowa. The CPUSA People's World newspaper quoted several participants to give a flavor of the event. Diana Sowry, a school bus driver from Ohio, said, "The Word of God and communism are hand in hand." Sowry is a union activist and also active in her church, where she sings in the choir. She feels communists and others who are working to defeat the ultra-right and advance peace, social and economic justice, and socialism are doing the work of the Word. The Reverend Scott Marks from Connecticut said, "People in the pews cannot simply stick to feel-good issues, but must be willing to go to the wall on the real issues." Marks is a Pentecostal minister who leads the Connecticut Center for a New Economy. For him, this is doing the real work of Jesus. It's not pie in the sky when we die, Marx told the world. It's how we are going to change things in the here and now. In the session on work in local churches, the Reverend Jill Dawes, a retired volunteer pastor at Trinity Methodist Church here, emphasized that grassroots progressive religious activism has deep historical roots and has to be re-energized today. That's where the right is way ahead of us, he said. Dawes said people suffering will become leaders if they have a chance to put it together with other people. This kind of Bible study helped turn one congregation from fundamentalist to one of the most progressive, he said. In the session on Marx and religion, Paul Nelson, a Lutheran minister who teaches at a community college in Iowa, disputed the idea that Marx opposed all religions. What Marx denounced was an illusory form of religion that served as ideological cover for the exercise of aristocratic economic and political power. Let's take a look at today's influence. Today, CPUSA is still very active in the church. Here's a few examples. Edward Carson is the chairman of the Boston Communist Party and was also an editor for the Christian Century Then and Now blog. Michael Reel served on the CPUSA Religious Commission in 2004 to 2005. Reel told the CPUSA newspaper People's Weekly World, later changed to People's World in 2004. "I personally felt led to bring into the Communist Party 3 friends who are active in their faiths, one a Quaker, another who is the pastor of the United Church of Christ, and the third a Jehovah's Witness. All 3 had expressed an interest in the party. We all need to confront the myth that communism is anti-religion. Communism is not anti-religion, it is anti-opulence. I came to the Communist Party because of my deep Quaker faith. I had become convinced a Quaker expression of the rightness of Marxism." In 2010, Pierre Williams was Secretary of the Religion Commission of the CPUSA. He received his Master of Divinity degree from Virginia Union University in Richmond, Virginia. He also completed pastoral residency at Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore, Maryland, and served as staff chaplain at Harbor Hospital, Baltimore. He is an ordained minister in the African Methodist Episcopal Zion Church. Henry Milstein is a practicing Roman Catholic and activist in several faith-based social justice organizations. He served on the National Committee and the Religion Commission of the CPUSA. Milstein holds a PhD in Jewish Studies from the University of California, Berkeley, and the Graduate Theological Union, with a focus on Jewish-Christian relations, and has taught humanities and history of religion at Stanford, UC Berkeley, UC Davis, and the Graduate Theological Union. Milstein is currently Programs Manager at Islamic Networks Group in San Jose. His LinkedIn profile states his background includes both academic and experiential acquaintance with a variety of cultures and religions, including Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Buddhism, and Native American traditions. In his current position as ING Islamic Networks Group, he brings together his experience in moving across boundaries of faith and culture with his passion for peace, nonviolence, and social justice. Reverend James Caldwell is one of 2 black pastors in the Houston Communist Party branch. He is a graduate of Phyllis Wheatley High School and Texas Southern University School of Public Affairs. He also attended Dallas Theological Seminary and has been an ordained minister for over 30 years. Reverend Tim Yeager was, in 2010, a chairperson of the Religion Commission of the CPUSA. He has served on the Standing Commission on Anglican and International Peace with Justice Concerns and the Advocacy Center of the Episcopal Church. After a Christian upbringing in Iowa, Yeager went on to study Russian and history at the University of Iowa. The Vietnam War was raging then, and he became involved in the anti-war movement. That opened my eyes to a whole host of issues. I moved away from Christianity and became a Unitarian. As time went on, I became a leader in left-wing student activities. I had read Karl Marx on Ludwig Feuerbach, a German philosopher and anthropologist, and decided that I had to move away from religion altogether and become a Marxist, Yeager said in a 2015 interview in British local magazine Westcombe News. Yeager also became chief organizer of the Communist Party in Iowa, but was drawn back to the church by communist pastor Jill Dawes. I never really lost my connection to my home church in Iowa. It was part of my family, and then I met a wonderful man named Jill Dawes. He was a Methodist minister and liberation theologian who showed me what I had not really taken on board, that Christianity and socialism had much in common, and so I joined his church. But I have to admit that I had not yet become a Christian again in my heart, Yeager said in the same interview. In 2011, Yeager was ordained as a priest in the Episcopal Church, and in 2010 he took on the responsibility of serving a small inner-city church on the west side of Chicago. He currently serves at a church in London and is a member of the Communist Party of Britain. Communists want to be gods on earth. Their main competition for the minds of men is revealed religion. Attempts to brutally suppress Christianity, Judaism, and Islam in the early days of the Soviet Union proved counterproductive. Infiltrating and twisting religion is far more effective. This tactic has been applied all over the world and has made huge inroads into the United States. Much of what is preached in today's American churches has been influenced, if not dominated, by communist ideology posing as religion. That's all we have for today. Thank you very much for watching. Please leave your comments below. What did you think of this story? Have you experienced this yourself? That is, communist infiltration of churches in America. From all of us here at Declassified, thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon.